Hello everyone and welcome to UnWine with Janet. I have many favorites when it comes on to breakfast, and to be honest, without a doubt, cornmeal porridge supersedes everything else. And that's what I'll be preparing for you today, cornmeal porridge. Both our African ancestors and Scottish migrants shared in this inheritance. It goes to show how diverse our culture on the island is and how it merged to create Jamaican cuisine as we know it today. Cornmeal porridge is smooth, creamy, and it's infused with nutmeg and vanilla. And you know what? Come let me show you how we do it. Welcome back. So here I have 2 cups of yellow cornmeal, a half a cup of brown sugar, a half can of sweetened condensed milk, 2 tablespoons of vanilla, a half teaspoon of salt, a half teaspoon of cinnamon powder, and 1 nutmeg. I won't be using all of it, and my little nutmeg grater. You can use your regular grater, but use the smaller side. Don't use the larger side or you'll have large pieces of nutmeg in your porridge in the end. So here I'm preparing my cornmeal by adding a little water and stirring. You don't want to put too much, just enough for it to have a smooth, lump-free and an easy to pour consistency. This step I think is very important because it will prevent your porridge from being too lumpy in the end. Another thing I have to point out, you cannot put dry cornmeal into the hot water. You'll get something else. Instead of that nice, rich, tasty cornmeal porridge that you're expecting, you're gonna get something totally different, so don't do it. Now this is the result that you should expect after you're through. A nice, smooth, lump-free mixture that's not too watery or runny, just like this. After I'm through with my cornmeal mixture, I have a pot of boiling water here, so I will be adding some salt that I had pre-measured earlier, along with some cinnamon powder. Now this step can be done as soon as you put the water on the stove. You don't have to wait until the water is boiling because you'll get the same result. And if I had cinnamon leaf or some nutmeg mace, I would also add it to the pot at this time. So now that our water is prepped and ready, it's now time to add the cornmeal mixture. And as you can see, it does not have that same smooth liquidy consistency as before. And that's because the cornmeal has absorbed most of the liquid. Now this can be corrected. All you have to do is just add a little bit of cold water and stir, just like that. And there you have it, it's back to normal. And now it's ready to be poured. This is the second most important step. And as you can see, I'm pouring very slowly and carefully. And I'm also stirring at the same time. So you're going to have to be very comfortable with using both hands at the same time because you're going to be stirring and pouring as you go. And the reason for this is to prevent any lumps from being formed. In Jamaica, porridge is one of the most consumed breakfast items that you could ever think of. It's very economical, and let me tell you, when you have that with a piece of hard-dough bread, it fills you up to the brim. I remember as a kid going to school and we had porridge for breakfast. Even during recess time, you'd still be full. Even when you're traveling to some of our larger cities, you'll find street vendors selling porridge to people either on their way to work or students on their way to school. It's a very popular breakfast item. You're gonna let this cook over low to medium heat for about 20 minutes. Throughout this stage, however, you'll still have to stir constantly to prevent lumps from forming and to prevent it from sticking to the bottom too much. Yeah, I know it's an ongoing process, but look how smooth and lump-free this is. And this is as a result of the earlier steps that we did. An extra word of caution or advice. You want to keep it on low heat, especially when you're about to remove the lid, because this porridge, it pops continuously. And trust me, when this sticks to your skin, that's the last thing you want to feel. So for persons who do not like it to be too thick, And at this stage, I do not like it very, very thick. So what I normally do is add a little bit of hot water, but you want to add a little bit and then you want to stir it vigorously, quickly, but safely. Do not add cold water, because then you'll be at risk of destroying what you've created. The hot water will keep the temperature constant. If you use cold water, you're at risk of lumps being formed, and you don't really want that. So just keep stirring and adding water until it reaches that consistency that you like. I always say you can't spoil porridge because you're in control. You know the thickness that you want. You want whether it's a little bit on the watery side or if it's on a little bit on the thicker side, it's all up to you. While the cornmeal porridge is still cooking, it's usually during this time that I'll prepare my nutmeg if I have the whole one. Now if you have the powdered one, that's fine too, but nothing beats the fresh nutmeg grated. I am only going to use about a half a teaspoon of this. You do not need a whole lot because it tends to make the porridge a little bit bitter if you put too much nutmeg in it. So just a little will do the trick. I do not like to add it in the end. I like it when it's all melted and it's absorbed with all the other ingredients. If you add it in the end and it's not mixed out properly, then you might get like clumps of nutmeg in your mouth, and you do not really want to taste that. You want to enjoy your nice, smooth, tasty porridge, right? Keep in mind though that when you're stirring, you want your spoon to hit the bottom of the pot. So after I've added my nutmeg, I'll just keep on stirring just to make sure that it's evenly distributed and it prevents any clumps to be formed. Just like that, very smooth, lump free. It's not too thick and it's not too thin. That's the consistency that I love. Now after that, I'm just going to add my milk. Now this is where coconut milk would be the best one because it has more flavor, but right now I have almond milk, so that's what I'm using. Any type of milk can use. After that, you just cover it and let it simmer on low heat just to make sure that it doesn't boil over, because at this stage with the milk in it, it will tend to boil over if it's on too high heat. So usually after the milk is added, I would give it another 5 minutes to boil. And after that, it's ready for the final touches. And that's to put your sweetener in, and if you have any other flavor in that you would want to put in. So right now I'm adding my vanilla, and all these measurements will be in the description below, so you don't have to worry about it. At this stage, you don't have to even worry about the porridge popping and burning because we're adding cold liquid. The temperature of it has dropped, so in most cases you would not find it popping and burning you. Here I am only using a half can of condensed milk, and it's all up to you because the amount that I made is for at least for 4 people. I do not need a whole can of condensed milk, and along with that I also use brown sugar. I try to balance the condensed milk with the brown sugar, but you can also use a full can of condensed milk or only condensed milk if you choose to. The choice is yours, but personally I like to do half of condensed milk plus the brown sugar. It balances the taste of it. Now you can choose any type of sweetener that you prefer, but to get that true authentic Jamaican taste, you have to have condensed milk, okay? Now it's also at this point that I would do a taste test. If it needs a little bit more sugar, then this is where I'd add it. If it needs a little bit more cinnamon powder or vanilla or whatever the case may be, I'll also add it here. So as you can see, it's smooth, lump free, it's creamy, it's not too thick and it's not too thin, and that's the consistency you want. So in order to get that perfect cornmeal porridge, you want to make sure that you have your cornmeal mixture, and whenever you're pouring it in the hot water, you pour it very, very slow and you're stirring at the same time, and then you stir consistently throughout the cooking process. Those are the secret steps to make sure you have a lump-free cornmeal porridge. So go ahead and give it a try and let me know how it turned out. Leave your comments in the comment box. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you liked this video. And if you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss next week's video. What good? Till we see you next time, alright?